Next up, I want to bring to the stage Maggie Buggie. She heads digital transformation for the consultancy Capgemini. And one of the things that we met actually in London, we did a GSummit X in London at Capgemini's offices. And one of the things that we've long said about the discussion in gamification is that major consultancies would need to help us advance this cause, advance the art form, bring it to the world's largest companies, the Global 2000, the Fortune 500. There are very few people in the world with the depth and breadth of expertise that Maggie has at leading digital transformation in the world's largest organizations. And so I'm very pleased to welcome Maggie Buggie. Thank you, my dear. Here's a clicker for you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. It's a real pleasure to be with you here today, and I would like to actually thank Gabe for inviting me here to share our experience of the value of enterprise gamification to big business. At Capgemini, we use our insights gained from our research collaboration with MIT and our deep experience of delivering digital transformation globally to clients to inform our view of how the intelligent use of enterprise gamification can help to play a strong role in building the digital advantage for our clients. Excuse me. We are at, though, a very interesting crossroads that really form the reason why now is the right time for firms and big business to be experimenting with their use of enterprise gamification. The pace of change is constantly accelerating, and to be perfectly honest, big business is somewhat struggling to be able to react to that in terms of evolving and adapting both its customer experience but also its employee experience to provide a valuable and engaging workforce experience. Employee expectation has shifted dramatically, and firms are now increasingly dependent on employees' emotional engagement in both their personal development and the firms within which they operate in order to build and deliver the step change in business performance necessary to create their digital advantage. And I'll delve more into what the digital advantage means over the course of our discussion. Furthermore, our understanding of psychology and human behavior is more advanced than it has ever been at any point in the past. We really now understand what truly motivates employees and customers. And furthermore, their expectation of both their workplace experience and their customer experience has changed dramatically over the last few years, and crucially will continue to do so as Generation X carries on entering the workforce and the marketplace. So therefore, there's a real need to explore relevancy of both customer proposition but also employee proposition over the lifetime of professional experiences. Thirdly, technology is finally now more accessible, offering us unheralded opportunity to create meaningful digital engagement with customers and employees. And also, its value as a key driver of competitive advantage is fully appreciated, whereas really wasn't going back around 8-10 years ago. Technology was very much seen as low-value tech platforms that have to, unfortunately, be part of the core business operations. Thankfully, that appreciation of the business value of technology is now firmly established. Also, building social businesses is recognized as being a fundamental source of competitive advantage, and its role in promoting collaboration, engagement, and experimentation and innovation on behalf of the workforce. The enterprise needs to be able to change behaviors on demand, and that is no mean task for organizations that operate across multiple countries, and certainly with our clients can run into 50, 80, 100, 200,000 global employees. The question remains, how do you create meaningful experiences and the ability to change and adapt on demand within your workforce, whilst concurrently not overloading a many times change-fatigued workforce? And we'll come back to that in a few moments. Now, while organizations have significantly ramped up their investments in digital tools and technologies, most organizations report ongoing challenges in driving change in workforce behavior as key blockers to achievement of their digital transformation program objectives. Our latest research with MIT indicates that 55% of the companies that we studied cited company culture and particularly challenges in encouraging employees to be more receptive to changes in their jobs as the main barrier for success of their digital transformation programs. And when you consider that the level of investment going into global digital transformation initiatives is running into tens and hundreds of millions of dollars, that is actually a fundamental failure point. And critical is shortening that time to revenue so that organizations can experience real business case impact off the back of their tech investment. But this cultural transition is absolutely critical, and managing it in tandem with the pace of tech investment is a critical success factor, both in terms of unlocking financial gain and bringing in the digital money, so to speak, and secondly, in terms of aligning the enterprise to the pace of change, that it remains relevant in terms of its customer proposition provision and also the experience it offers to its employees in terms of stewardship of the organization. And with an awful lot of the boards that we're working with at the moment, that notion of stewardship is extremely important in that many of them completely accept and appreciate that the world has changed. And in a few minutes, we'll go through some of the industry variations on that. But for the bulk of traditional industry, in many cases, there isn't currently, or they don't currently see and appreciate a burning platform. And they're still bringing in strong financial results. But from a board perspective, the board's responsibility is to steward the organization so that it's still relevant over the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 100 years. So therefore, how to pace and shape digitally enabled business transformation now so that evolution of the workforce required to maintain competitive advantage is managed in an ongoing manner, as opposed to being some terrible thing that they have to face when they actually have no choice, as has happened in some other industries. That's why at Capgemini we believe that the intelligent use of enterprise gamification, crucially as part of a broader digitally enabled business transformation, is worth consideration and has got a key role to play in building the digital advantage, particularly as enterprise gamification is now coming out of its nascence, and the tools, methodologies, platforms, and crucially perspectives, largely driven by communities such as this, are more trustworthy. Executives have more confidence in experimenting with some of these initiatives. Now, we know from our research collaboration with MIT that how digital transformation is actually approached is a critical success factor in driving a step change in business performance. The use of enterprise gamification in the areas of change management, employee engagement, learning and development, innovation, that's sometimes a dirty word in enterprise, and process efficiency and digitization are its core primary areas of application. For instance, the ability to deliver insight on demand, flexibility in operations, and developing a perspective of looking at your IT and business operating models from a point of view of an integrated platform is less a differentiator and is now an absolutely fundamental prerequisite of doing business effectively. Therefore, enterprise gamification can support the process digitization required to deliver that convergence and accelerate that convergence of the business and IT operating models. And that is a necessary part of future-proofing the digital enterprise and therefore maintaining competitivity. Successful digital transformation, though, really does require a significant cultural shift for traditional enterprise. And therefore, enterprise gamification can help with creating a safe and engaging and supportive environment for employee experimentation with new digital tools and technologies, can support learning and development, and can give a different level of analytics and insights through which to inform measurement, and also crucially can be used to increase the bang on change management initiatives buck. And that is a really important point, because if you look at the statistics, the level of investment that has gone into change management initiatives over the last few years is absolutely significant, particularly when compared to the actual business case impact of those initiatives. So we advise our clients, and are working with a number of them, to actually shorten that time between investment made or big process change or restructuring through digital and business case impact or change in job performance being actually experienced at the front line. And we'll look at some examples when we move on a little more. We know from our research that organizations are digitally transforming 3 core areas of their value proposition: customer experience, operational process, and business model, all underpinned by what we call core foundation digital capabilities, namely analytics, unified data, excellence in the on-demand solution delivery, and also crucially changing functional relationships, particularly between business and IT. Interestingly, in a number of the clients that I'm working with at the moment, we are seeing for the first time dual, or rather shared roles and responsibilities between the CMO and the CIO particularly, in order to facilitate from a top-down perspective the collaboration required through greater understanding and development of, shall we say, a common language or a better language between business and IT functions, in appreciation that competitiveness moving forward is fundamentally dependent on business and IT working in tandem together. A key lesson, though, however, both from our research and our experience of doing this on the ground, is that digital is not just about customer experience. I can't tell you how often I hear that, oh, digital is only customer experience. Where the real business case impact comes from is through intelligent matching up of your digital initiatives across these 3 areas of business model, process, and customer experience. And crucially, the long-term and sustainable and meaningful business impact comes from the process transformation in tandem with the business model change and customer experience. So, digital intensity then is about organizations using technology-enabled initiatives to bring about changes in how they do business across customer, operations, business model, and core digital capabilities that we spoke about. The key here for successful digital leaders is that whilst technology is maturing fast, they absolutely cannot let a situation develop or an expectation that the technology itself will drive the organizational change. Those things are still 2 separate activities. Transformation management intensity, therefore, is about the organizational ability to manage people and coordinate initiatives in such a way that they can actually drive business performance forward and accelerate their business change. And crucially, the key here is to keep the rate of that technical investment in balance with the enterprise ability to both conceive of, absorb, and deliver step change in business performance from those initiatives. And we would actually counsel heavily that it is more important to do a few things and do them right, and build the ability of the workforce to drive that cultural shift and absorb the change required in job changes that include increased digitization, rather than go big and start investing very heavily with huge digital platforms. If you don't have the workforce with you from the beginning, digital transformations, in our experience, will fail. And actually, the secret squirrel approach to digital in enterprise, which we would see on a more regular basis than you might think, absolutely does not work. Organizations that are particularly good in this space put an awful lot of time and investment and effort into engaging the full workforce from all workforce segments in the transformation right from the outset. Successful digital leaders need to be able to articulate a very compelling business vision of the future and also articulate a business strategy to support achievement of that vision. It's one of my big bugbears when enterprises come and speak to me about, ooh, we need a digital strategy. I'm like, why would you need a digital strategy? The firm only needs one strategy, its business strategy. And activity needs to be focused on understanding how digital can accelerate and enable achievement of said strategy. Treating digital strategy as a special thing in and of itself is a real cause for failure because it separates it from the financial measurement mechanism of the firm and also the change management activity of the enterprise. So, the two dimensions of digital intensity and digital transformation intensity spell out 4 categories of digital maturity. And as consultants, we really do love our 4-box models. So we've put all our insight into a 4-box model to make it easier to digest. The first category on the bottom left are the digital beginners. And enterprises in this quadrant tend to be typified by low level of understanding of the business value and application that digital transformation represents. Some of them have done some experimentation in the space, largely with well-known applications and experiments in the customer experience area, but they have no understanding of how the combination of digital intensity coupled with transformation intensity plays that role in unlocking the digital advantage. An interesting observation, however, in the 12 months that elapsed between us releasing phase 1 of our research and phase 2, which we released in January of this year, is that this bottom left quadrant is emptying out across industry. Now, I found that very interesting because particularly when we come on to look at the industry mix that we studied, a lot of them are very, very traditional industries. And this bottom left quadrant is very much emptying out. That tells us that the market isn't just moving, the market has moved. So there's a key message there for traditional enterprise in that ignore the value that digital transformation, the opportunity that digital transformation represents to your organization at your peril. The second category then are what we call the fashionistas. And these enterprises tend to be very enamored with what we call, dare I say, the more sexy aspects of digital. And they tend to have an awful lot of pilots on the go and tend to experience a lot of instances of duplicated investment, whether that be within and across teams or lines of business. And certainly when we look at the global organizations that populate this category, they tend to have an awful lot of duplicate investment in many countries of operation. Now, in terms of unlocking the digital advantage and bringing in the digital money, that type of behavior in patterns of investment and change initiatives is absolutely detrimental to business case realization. And also it means that the fashionistas, though terribly passionate about and cognizant of the power of digitally enabled change, they're always blocked from like that single sight of what it is actually doing and how it is driving change across their enterprise. And actually, more importantly, the impact a lot of those isolated initiatives are having on their global customer base, which really makes it more difficult for them to establish a single view of the customer, which we see as like an absolutely critical must-have ability in order to build a digital advantage. And particularly when we come on to look at the winning categories, when you marry single view of the customer with single view of the enterprise, that is the holy grail of business performance in the digital space. The third category then are the conservatives. And at the moment, I'm doing an awful lot of work with industries who are in the conservative section. Typically, the conservatives tend to value prudence over innovation. And whilst they often intellectually very much grasp what the business value that digital represents, the power, shall we say, of their excellence in governance, risk management, and program delivery actually tends to block them from the ability to go, okay, at some point within large-scale digital investment, you do actually have to make a leap of faith. And sometimes the scale of the cultural shift required for some of these industries is so significant that it blocks them from actually making the decision to move forward. But in our experience of delivery, however, with some of the conservative organizations we've been working with, when they have actually made the decision to move forward, they have been very effective at quickly entering the final category, which are the digerati. And these are la creme de la creme of digital transformation. And the most interesting and key message I really want to leave you with actually from today from our research is that in the latest phase, we've been able to establish that enterprises that are digitally transforming in a particular way, and they exhibit a certain type of DNA, we call it, of digital leaders, are experiencing increased profitability of up to 26%. Now, these digital leaders, they really get the business value that digital represents, but also they are approaching both their investment and the deployment of their digital initiatives and the engagement of the workforce in a very particular orchestrated way. And they are putting a lot of concurrent investment into the change initiatives and are both experimenting with and also starting to roll out at large scale some enterprise gamification initiatives. There is also an industry dispersion of firms. Now, you'd be unsurprised to see that the high tech and the music industries, largely driven by the particular experiences they had in the early 2000s, are very experienced and tend to occupy the digerati category. Also retail and financial services, largely driven by the customer coming into their operations in the early 2000s, and their experimentations with e-commerce are also very advanced in this space. But from a traditional industry point of view, a lot of the conservatives and some of the beginners, they don't yet have that burning platform we mentioned earlier. But what we are seeing is that a slowly growing appreciation that who a lot of these firms compete with today is not who they're going to be competing with tomorrow. As an example, we're seeing greater newly forged ecosystems between utilities, telcos, and retailers. As with the advent of the global rollout of smart metering, they're starting to collaborate to understand how they will win the battle for the home environment, which is going to be one of the next big digital channels. Also in the insurance space, we see increased collaboration between retailers, food retailers, who've got significantly huge loyalty programs and therefore great insight on customers, collaborating with healthcare providers and insurance underwriters to provide general insurance direct to customer and therefore circling around the traditional general insurance providers. Now, people, however, are still at the heart of every digital transformation. And consider the business questions posed by these global enterprises that we're currently working with. If you take the insurer as an example, this insurer currently only has direct marketing rights and sells direct to single-digit percentage of its customer base, with the remainder being done so through partners, independent financial advisors, and aggregators. Now, to fulfill their business objective of providing customer-centric financial services advice requires a fundamentally different method of engagement with their customers, and crucially, that change must be underpinned by a big shift to a very different type of organizational culture. In this case, enterprise gamification is being targeted on the professional segment of their workforce to promote and educate that segment on how to engage with this fundamentally different type of customer. If we take the utility as the example, utilities, you're probably aware, are under huge pressure in terms of management of cost to serve and have a need to completely transform their customer service operations. However, consider Katie, a call center operative who's been working in a utility call center for 12 years. always dealing with customers across 2 touch points, phone and mail. Now, she is not suddenly going to morph overnight into the type of customer service agent that can deal with multiple real-time market and data feeds from digital channels on the market, and then making an informed decision about what service to provide to that customer, and whilst concurrently managing an acceptable cost to serve on behalf of the utility. In this example, enterprise gamification is being used to support the retraining and development of those call center agents, also informing how data gained from the process digitization changes within the call center can be used to better manage metrics, and also to inform the future business case and classes of measurement for the utility. I'm conscious now I'm significantly over time. I can talk about this all day. But the pace of change is significantly accelerating, guys. And executives in every industry are paying attention. And they are seeking ways to build the digital advantage. Enterprise gamification, if very intelligently and applied and focused as part of a broader digitally enabled business transformation, has a valuable role to play as a key to unlocking the digital advantage. Thank you, and apologies for going over time.
Thanks so much, my dear. I'll take that from you. Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Maggie. Awesome. Okay.